Into an era where we are not replicators, we are navigators. Navigators require a really different set of skills, right? There's a humility involved, there's a constant learning that's involved, there's collaboration that's involved, there's agility that's involved, there's willing to test and learn. There's a whole different way in which we have to operate when we are navigators versus replicators. All right, this is one I think that's really important to consider, right? That we are all connected. The fact is that we are not separated. As these technologies take root, we learn more about the impact that our decisions make, the ripple effects, the externalities is sort of the fancy word. But we see that we are actually making decisions about how things affect others. And so it starts to impact how we shop. This idea of the circular economy is about what went into the product that it is that I'm buying, what sort of contributed to that product, and then what happens to it when I'm done with it, right? Does it just die? Does it end? Or is there a way for these resources to continue to be used? I'm excited about the fact that I bought this dress resale. Thank you very much. I know, I'm a big resale shopper. And I start to see, I love that you guys are so excited about that. Thank you for making it possible. But what I think is interesting is to see, again, how big brands are adopting it. So Eileen Fisher now has the capacity, or is inviting people to buy their clothing at resale inside their boutiques next to the new stuff. So I have a choice when I walk in of whether or not I want to buy the resale item or I want to buy the new item in their retail location. I think that's extraordinary, right? I'm not forced to go kind of shop over here versus over there. I get to make the decision in real time. Then there's a sharing economy, right, which is the idea, do I need to own it at all? Perhaps I can just have rent access to it. I can rent access to a drill, I can rent access to a car, I can rent access to a dress. I met a woman recently, she was in sales, who literally her entire wardrobe was rent the runway. She owns a dress for each meeting. She's never worn the same dress twice. She's that committed to having such a unique look. She was adorable. It was a great dress. And then there's, I think, another really interesting part to this, which is sourcing transparency. As artificial intelligence, and I can tell you that I also worked for an artificial intelligence company for a while, and drones and other technologies become create more visibility, we start to ask questions about supply chain. We start to wonder about things like labor trafficking, right? We start to wonder about the sustainability of what it is that we're sourcing, and we're going to have more and more of that ability to learn. And back to Devin's point, I'll be able to put on my augmented reality glasses, walk through any kind of retail environment and get a lot of product information that is interesting to me. May not be interesting to someone else, but I might really care about that, and that's going to become more and more visible and transparent if you're going to ask more questions. This is a site that you can go to and find out how many slaves are working on your behalf. You put in a quick profile of how many people are in your family and what are the things that you like to buy, and this is the information that gets spit back. It's humbling. It's eye-opening. So there's this real opportunity that leadership is about being better able to listen to the whole than anyone else, from Otto Scharmer at MIT. When you're able to step back and see the whole, you can start to see where the gaps are and where the opportunities are. You get to fill them in a way that when you're siloed and you're sitting there looking straight down, you don't always get to see. So I would argue that, again, the lesson from that is that we need to contribute versus extract. And I will, again, purport that the companies on the left side of that big shift map have spent so much of their time extracting value and holding on to ROI, and much less thinking about how they create value and contribute. When you contribute, you innovate from a very different place. Innovation then doesn't become risky, it becomes purpose-driven. It is very exciting to innovate on the other side. So this idea of moving from contribution to extraction, I think, is a really important place. The last one, I think, is, again, a really important one. It's this idea of the human cloud. I was on a tech panel a year or so ago with the head of cloud computing from Microsoft who was talking so much about the digital cloud and how it has enabled mobile and it's enabling big data and will be the driver for artificial intelligence, and all that would not be possible without the digital cloud. And I thought out loud, actually said it out loud to a room of people, what's the equivalent of the human cloud? What allows us to accelerate and keep up with this pace of technology? Right? What is it that is available to us to try and do that? And I would say a lot of it is about collaboration and being in connection with others. You start to see businesses that are built specifically to connect one another. So WeWork, if you guys haven't been to, is a co-working facility. They're all over the world now. I think they're the 6th largest private company. It's valued around $16 billion. Just in basically putting a place where people can work together, learn together, share resources, not feel like they're so alone. And they're moving now into also communal housing, calling We Live. Who knows, again, if that's going to take off and be quite as big, but they see a need, again, for people to be in community with one another. And it doesn't have to be that my whole business strategy is that, but what I love is that Olive Garden is now creating a community table in their restaurants. and inviting people to come and sit with others and share try a new menu item, have a conversation. But it's these places that allow us to have clouds of support, clouds of community, to have, sort of increase our fabric of connectedness with one another that I think is critical. Because here's the deal, navigating this whole new terrain alone is overwhelming, if not excruciating. It's also really slow, right? It's hard to learn all the things you need to learn all by yourself. None of us will know it all. We have to be in systems where we're connected to one another, and being able to find places to do that, I think, are important. We also see, by the way, a rising, unfortunately, correlated to this sense of mental health and overwhelm. So people are also feeling very isolated and feeling alone. So the more that we can reach out, again, as members of society and create places where people can connect with one another, the more successful we make a society.